Make sure it's recording. Yeah, it's recording. And I'll get the camera going.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing alright. How are you?
I'm good. So what brings you here today?
Well, I've been struggling a lot lately with getting into some old bad habits, and I'm trying to, I guess, break them before I start.
Okay, so I hear you mentioned bad habits. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I've been really worried about my weight and how I look lately, and in the past I've struggled with not eating like I should and over exercising. And this is, I guess it's really been hitting me lately because I kind of woke up realizing that this is the biggest I've ever been aside from being pregnant. And like when I was pregnant with my last one, it was really tough. Like it was really hard pregnancy, and I had to be really strict with everything that I did. Like I couldn't work out because I was high risk, and I had to eat like basically stick to a really strict meal plan. And when after I had her, of course, like I celebrated and started eating kind of more normally, but then it was bad eating habits that I just kind of kept going with, and I didn't stop after just the yay, I can eat normal food again. And I wasn't, when I did get cleared to work out a couple months after I had her, I started working out, and an old knee injury flared up. So I actually just finished like 16 weeks of physical therapy for that. And I'm not supposed to like run or do high impact. And I guess basically that kind of made me feel less motivated to work out. It's hard to go to the gym with a baby, and I was working out at home a little bit, and I kind of stopped that, and I've just kind of gotten lazy, and now it's all building up, and I'm have like those old thought processes coming back.
Okay, so since you're not able to work out like you want to, it's sort of kind of, making an impact in your life right now.
Yeah, it's struggling. It's because if I get bored around the house, instead of getting up and being active, like I just end up eating, and then I feel bad about eating. And like I said, I've been really aware of everything I'm putting in my mouth, and reading the nutrition labels a little too much probably, and it's just I see some of these old habits starting to creep up.
Okay, when you talk about old habits, can you tell me more about that?
Well, after I had my first son, I was obviously that was the biggest I'd been at that point, and I wanted to lose that baby weight. And I would get up at like 4:30 or 5 every morning. I'd go to the gym and do a lot of cardio workout, and it was like 2 hours in the gym of doing that. And I would track how much I did and about how many calories I burned. And it got to the point where it was like this obsessive thing where I went to the gym regularly and probably worked out way too much, and I started cutting back on eating, and I got to the point where I wouldn't go to bed if I hadn't burned more calories than I put in my body.
Okay.
And it was really unhealthy. But I mean, I lost a ton of weight. I went down like 4 pant sizes in 3 months.
Okay. So it just seems like your biggest concern right now is just not going back to your reverting back to your old habits and stuff like that. Because so after you had the baby, you started to eat right, and you started to over exercise, and it caused you to have obsessive patterns where you will go to the gym a lot, and you just don't want to revert back to your old habits.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like I said, I see some of the old habits starting to creep up, and of course, I never planned to go to that extreme. It's funny because like I'd get compliments like, oh, you're looking good after, so quickly afterwards, and like that kind of fueled me like to keep going, because even though maybe I didn't see the progress quite as much as they did, it just, like I said, it got crazy. And I after a while I developed better habits and was good at maintaining, and then I feel like it's just kind of started over with this last pregnancy. It's kind of thrown me back in. Like, I'm a lot bigger than I want to be. I'm not, and it's never necessarily been about like the weight. Like, I don't look at a scale or anything. It's just how clothes fit. Like, I don't like the extra flab around. It's things like that, and that's what I guess drives me over the edge sometimes.
Okay, when you say drive you over the edge, can you explain more about those feelings?
It's just more like I feeling like I need to go work out, and if I can't work out, I feel like I need to overcompensate somewhere else, and that's by watching what I eat or cutting snacks or cutting meals, and that's something I'm trying to battle, but I'm trying to find a balance with that.
So how is cutting meals and over working out, how is that affecting your body and how you function daily?
I mean, at first it's not bad because like the exercising makes you feel better about yourself, but then the not eating kind of catches up with you, and I get tired and irritable, and it does take an unhealthy toll on your body after a while.
Okay, so you notice that it is unhealthy, certain things that you do, so you are aware.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that I'm aware, but like I still want to do it because I still want the results.
Okay. So have you tried other alternatives?
I mean, I've always been a pretty active person, and I guess like growing up, like I was always very big into sports and things like that, so I was able to stay in really good shape without necessarily worrying about what I eat. And the good thing about it is, like, if I work out, I don't want to eat unhealthy. And like I said, is once I had my first child, I wasn't able to keep up, like, with sports and things like that. And it just, I felt like I had to compensate in other ways. So it's just, I guess I never developed good habits after I stopped playing sports.
Okay. So what do you feel like would help you be able to develop a better, what do you think will help you to be able to have a better plan for your eating and exercise, be able to balance that out more?
I think, well, like I mentioned, with my last pregnancy, I had to be on a pretty strict meal plan. I met with a nutritionist every 3 weeks. And even though the meal plan was tough sometimes, it helped because, like, I had someone that was holding me accountable, and I had to check my blood sugar levels 4 times a day. And it all logged into, like, this program, so, like, they were able to pull it up and look at what I was doing. I had a food log and things like that. And I think maybe having someone like that would be accountable and kind of help me structure it, so I have something concrete to look at and something to kind of work around would probably help, at least on the eating side.
Okay, so after this pregnancy, have you tried to, look into finding a nutritionist that could sort of kind of help you find an equal balance like they helped you once before?
I haven't, but I know that's mostly because I use the excuse like, oh, I have a baby, like I can't do things. And even though it is true sometimes, I do kind of fall back on that a little more than I should.
Okay, so when you say fall back on that a little bit more than you should, what do you mean by that? Can you tell me more about that?
I think I just use it as an excuse not to do it.
Okay. So why do you feel like you're coming up with excuses not to do it?
I guess putting me in a position where someone else is going to hold me accountable is really going to make me take a look at what I'm doing. And if I do have those days where I slip back in my old habits, I'm going to have someone call me out on it. And I guess that's kind of scary.
Okay. So, what do you mean scary? Why do you feel like it's going to be scary?
I don't feel like I have a disorder or anything, and I'm worried that it's going to come across like that. I know I don't always have the healthiest habits, but I don't think that, at least right now, like now, I don't think it's at that point. Maybe back then when it first started years ago, yeah, maybe you can consider that a disorder, but I don't want to get called out for having one now because I don't think I do. I just have habits I need to work on before it gets to that point.
Okay, so when you seen the nutritionist prior, did they say anything or have any worries about you having an eating disorder?
No, but I guess it helped that I was pregnant, like I was able to eat a little bit more. But they had it was very strict, and you had like you had your 3 meals, and then you had a snack in between, and then a bedtime snack, and it told you like how many ounces of protein, how many carbs, how many things like that. So it was already balanced, and if I went over or went under, they did call you out on. They're like, you have to eat your bedtime snack even if you're not hungry, or things like that. And it was, you're doing it for the baby, and it was, I guess, a different motivator.
Because you were doing it for the baby.
Right.
So that just sort of kind of, help you stay motivated.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus now, it's like, you're not really carrying the baby right now, so.
Yeah, it's different. It's harder to be motivated, I guess, to do things, like, just for you, because you are geared toward, like, taking care of others.
Right. Okay. So, you are a very valuable asset to the family, of course, because you're their mother and stuff like that. So, the kids, I mean, they are, rooting for you, and they do want you to be around and stuff like that. So, I just want to make sure that you're, taking the best steps towards your health as well. And, know that even though you're not carrying a child, that you are still important and that you are valuable and that you need to, continue to take care and make the best decisions for you and your family as well, because it still can impact them as well.
Yeah, and like I said, even though I don't consider it a disorder, at least not right now, I see the patterns, and I don't want to fall back into that, and I want to stop it before it does become a problem and it does start affecting people other than myself.
Okay, so why do you feel so strongly that it's a disorder? Or
like, I guess because when I first dealt with it, I think it did get to the point of I probably should have gone to a counselor. I probably should have gotten it taken care of, because I know it was really unhealthy. Like, I restricted my diet. I wouldn't take in more than 900 calories a day. Okay. And like I said, I worked out more than that. So I burned more than 900 calories a day in the gym. And I would, go multiple times. I didn't do it all at once for the most part. But I did go, like, in the morning and at night, because I didn't want to go to bed, like, in the positive for, calorie intake. And it did get to that point that, I was hiding the not eating. Sometimes I wouldn't eat until, people were around, like we had to go to dinner kind of thing, and like I would eat in front of them to not make them suspicious. And it's just, I know that back then it did become a problem, and it got progressively worse, and I don't want to get to that point, and I guess that's why I'm so adamant about I don't have a disorder right now, because I do think that I did at one point, and I don't want to get back to that.
Okay, I noticed that you said it got progressively worse. Can you tell me more about that?
I mean, it started off with I want to lose the baby weight. I'm going, so you start working out, you start eating healthy, and I guess I wasn't seeing the results that I wanted as quickly, and I know now it's not realistic to get to my pre-baby weight, because I was a very, very competitive athlete. I was I was on the hockey rink, 4 or 5 times a day. We did, off-ice conditioning and things like that. So, like, I was already burning so much energy and calories that it didn't matter what I ate. I was toned up, I had abs and all that kind of stuff, like, and I have to be realistic that I'm not going to get back down to a size 3 after I have, a kid, much less 2. And I guess I just didn't want to accept that my body was changing or had changed after the first one, and I was trying really hard to get back to that size. And I guess I was thinking that being smaller would make me happier.
Being smaller would make you happier. Okay, so you felt like being smaller will make you happier because it's something that you've always been used to. It's something that you've been accustomed to. You were athletic, you were small growing up, so it's just like when you got pregnant, these sudden changes happened to your body, and it just sort of kind of shocked you almost.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
weren't used to it. It's just something not normal.
But yeah, I mean, your body definitely changes. It gets bigger, and there's some things like it's just not going to get smaller afterwards. And I didn't want to be realistic and accept that. I wanted to get back to my pre-baby size and tone up and things like that. And like I said, I've always had coaches and trainers that I worked with beforehand that, so I always knew what I was expected of me in the gym and all of that. And after my first child, it was just kind of, you're on your own, and I had to figure it out, and I didn't know what I was doing necessarily.
Okay. So can you tell me more about like a typical day for you in the gym? I know you said, you visit the gym twice a day, but to what extent? Like how long do you stay in the gym? And
It was sometimes up to 2 or 3 hours.
Wow, for that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would start off with cardio, and then whatever I was focusing on, usually the cardio was running on a treadmill or the elliptical, things like that. And I would do, whatever the day was focused on, legs or arms, and then I would end up on cardio again. And it was either, 30 minutes to an hour each session for cardio, depending on how much time I had.
Wow, so the second time you revisit the gym?
It'd be the same thing.
Same thing? So you would spend like almost a total of 6 hours in the gym?
It was pretty bad sometimes.
Wow.
I would, I'd go early in the morning before my son woke up, and then I'd be back by the time he was waking up, send the babysitters off, and then, go throughout my day. I was still in college when I had him, and I'd go to my classes, go to work, come home, spend time with him, and then when he'd go to sleep, I went back to the gym.
Wow. So when your second child came along, it was more limited time for you.
Right. I mean, having the second kid is a whole different ballgame. You have two of them now that you have to take care of. And my first one's in school, so it's, making sure he gets to school, and the time he's in school, it's a limited window. It's now my second one. She's 14 months. She gets into everything. She's nonstop, so it's not practical for me to do a workout in the house while she's up. And if she does nap, it's only maybe an hour. And I try to work out during that time, but it just doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah, compared to what you were doing in the past, because you would work out pretty long hours.
Yeah.
3 hours and stuff like that. So I can only imagine how somebody, can go from working out almost 6 hours today to, barely working out only a few times. So I can, see where.
Yeah, and with my injury,
that comes from.
I can't really do a lot of cardio. Biking is really the only thing I can do, and obviously I can't do that while she's sleeping. I can't go outside and bike. So it's really been a struggle of trying to figure out workouts that are effective but are low impact.
Okay. So can you tell me more about your injury? I know that you...
Yeah, I messed up both of my knees in high school playing hockey, and it was to the point where they were looking at doing knee replacement surgery. Wow. And I was 17 when it first started, and they kept putting it off because I'm so young. And when I started working out after I had my second one, that knee pain came back, and went back to the doctor, and basically they asked me, do you want to go ahead and have surgery, or do you want to try physical therapy? And of course I don't want to have surgery right now, especially with 2 kids at home. And so we did physical therapy. I just finished the 16 weeks, and it's been better, but I still have to be careful because I don't want to have surgery before I'm 30.
Right. Yeah, so you had therapists telling you that you can't really work out as
Yeah.
much, and then with the second child, you're not able to have as much time. So I can understand where your frustration comes from, and how you feel on edge, how you might feel on edge,
Yeah.
not being able to get enough workout time throughout the day.
Yeah, and because I am struggling with the lack of workout time, that's where the issues with food has come in. And, it does, yes, it makes sense to eat less, and to eat healthier if you're not burning as much energy. But I just have to be careful not to cross that line of it being, still being healthy and acceptable versus it, being way unhealthy and becoming an issue.
Okay. So I did notice that you did say you work out only an hour now, if you can, maybe, and stuff like that. So do you think that's okay for your knee?
As long as it's low impact,
Okay.
it's a little bit better. I've been doing a little more like yoga and things like that, and that's really good for stretching it out. And that was one thing that my physical therapist had recommended. And he, just told me to keep up with the exercises that they had me doing when I was up there. And I'm trying to do that, but like I said, it's low impact and it's very slow pace, and it's nice sometimes, but I'm such an active person. It's really hard.
Yeah. But you gotta slow down now.
I know. I know, because if I do have the knee replacement surgery, like, I'm done for after
Right.
that. And so it's just hard trying to balance it, because I used to run 5Ks and 10Ks and things like that, and I can't do that anymore. So it's just trying to find my place, I guess, in the active world.
So is there anything else that sort of kind of brings you the same? I know you mentioned that you like yoga, and that sort of kind of works for you, as well as the exercises that they recommended that you continue doing. But I noticed that you said it's not really as fast paced as you want it to be. So I mean, are you able to get on the treadmill or
We've talked about getting a stationary bike here.
stationary bike? Okay.
Because as much as I love the treadmill, that's like harder impact than running on a sidewalk.
Right.
And hopefully the stationary bike will be something we can get in the near future. I've been watching maybe get a good deal on a used one, but right now it's just I'm kind of stuck with my yoga mat and whatever I can do free weight.
Yeah. So I can understand how you can feel the way that you feel, frustrated and on edge, because you're not able to get as much workout time as you want to, and then because of your circumstances with your knee surgery, you're not able to work out, as hard as you used to, which is also making an impact on you, which is causing you to eat more. Yeah. Well, not eat more, but eat, eat less, but not really eat under what you're supposed to do to make sure that you not consume so many calories that day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just like I said, I'm starting to see these signs come back up, and I don't want to fall back in that same pattern again, because it's really hard to get out of. Okay. Once you get, the deeper you get, the harder it is.
Okay. So what have you been doing to cope with everything? Being able to work out and just do things like you used to do. How have you been coping with that?
I've tried to be a little more active. With the weather cooling down outside, I'm able to push my daughter around in her stroller, because when it's 90 degrees, you just can't take your baby out in the sun. But it's starting to cool down, so I'm trying to walk around the neighborhood more often, and I basically will walk as long as she allows me, so I can get a good 30 minutes for the most part before she gets antsy and is ready to get out. And I'll jog a little bit sometimes, and it makes her laugh because we're going fast.
Yeah.
But I can't keep it up, and I'll start feeling it in my knee, so I'll stop and try to remind myself I have to take care of myself for everybody else.
Okay. So just really sort of kind of taking things slow is just sort of kind of frustrating to you. Because it's like
is.
You can't really just get back in the groove of how you used to be, and it's like, since it's a process and it's sort of kind of slowing you down a little bit, it's a little bit more frustrating.
That's exactly it, because I remember how I used to be, and like I tried running for a minute and a half today on our walk, and I was able to do it, but I was already feeling it in my legs and my knees, and I was like, gosh, I remember where I could run like, 6 miles almost nonstop, and it is frustrating, but I also have to remember I have to be realistic. Like, I'm not going to be in the same shape as I was all those years ago. It's things have happened, circumstances have changed, and my body's changed, and I have to try and keep reminding myself. But it does stink because I remember how it used to be, and I remember what I used to do.
I noticed that you sort of kind of smile a little bit as you're talking about it. Can you tell me more about that?
I guess I think it's just funny that I have that natural tendency to remember how it was, and it's I know it's not realistic to have those expectations of myself, and I think that's why it's kind of humorous to me, because I do have them even though I know it's not realistic.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to change my mindset on it.
Okay, so you sort of kind of aware of the problem, but it's just sort of kind of taking some time to get used to and just to sink in.
Oh yeah,
everything to really just sink in for you.
Yes, I'm definitely aware that I'm doing it, but it's still kind of like impulse. It's still, those thoughts are coming up regardless, and it's just this whole mental battle of, is it okay if I do this right now? Like, if kind of compromising with myself and making sure to kind of moderate myself to, I guess, make sure I don't push myself too far, whether it's, not eating enough or working out too hard.
Yeah, and I believe that you're doing great because under your circumstances, you just had, another child and stuff, and you're not able to work out as much as you used to, but you're still trying to remain active. You're still working to eat right. So, I mean, I think you're doing pretty good, to say that you just got news saying that you can't really work out as much as you can, and you're still making an effort to be active. So I feel like even though it may not be moving as quick as you want it to move, it's still, you're still making progress.
Yeah. And that's what I try to remind myself, is that it's not an overnight thing, and it's going to take time, but I guess once you wake up and you realize, like, I'm not really happy with how I look, like, it's hard to, tell yourself, like, okay, well, it's going to be better in a few months. Like, that's really discouraging. So you want to speed up that process any way you can. And I have to remind myself that that's not always the best choice.
And so when you remind yourself that that's not the best choice, then what usually happens?
Like, it just kind of comes back to that, like, internal, like, argument of, I want to get the results right now. Let's do it as quickly as we can, speed up the process as much as we can, and other than it being unhealthy, I physically can't do that. And
it seems like you're trying to overload yourself.
It is. It's a lot of, like, mental activity, unfortunately. If only I could, like, translate that to the physical.
Yeah, because you're overloading yourself, and it's just like you can only do so much.
Yeah.
So I just want to let you know that I feel like you're doing good. Because I mean, I don't know if I will be, working out and stuff like that, knowing that I have problems with my knees. I don't feel like I will be comfortable. So you making an effort to still, remain active and still get that done, that's a big step. So I just want you to understand that that's a big step for most people, and that you're doing fine, and, you're just sort of kind of, beating yourself up too much about it. You want results now, and I don't feel like it's nothing wrong with that, because, I mean, when you're working out and you want to see results, you want to see results now, but, I mean, we have to also understand that, sometimes it takes time to get where we're going, but you are making progress, and, you can only do so much, especially because of your circumstances. If you keep on working out and keep on trying to overload yourself, what type of position do you think that's going to put you in?
Yeah, I know it'll really put me in a position where I'm not, like, the happiest I could be, or the most, like, positive, especially with my family. And when you get tired, you're impatient and cranky, and I don't want to, I don't want that to become, like, my kid's problem, and I don't want to take it out on them.
Also, when you're tired, your body has a way of shutting itself down.
Yeah.
So you don't want that to happen as well.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not an option. Right now, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and especially with an active toddler, like I can't just shut down.
Yeah.
I have to be aware of everything she's doing.
Yeah. And just being home, staying home mom. That's a job right
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I would
kids
love
are-
to go back to work,
Yeah.
but
That's a huge responsibility. Yeah. Because they're always getting into something.
oh my goodness, yes. I tell my husband all the time he gets a break from gets a break when he goes to work.
That was.